Okay, well, let's get started, everyone. Good morning and welcome. Thanks for being here today. My name's Jen Haddad, and I'm with the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare, and I serve on the board for the Idaho Children's Trust Fund. So this morning we have the opportunity to have Kimber Tower and Ashley Stallings, and they're going to be leading us through this session on intervention as prevention, preventing child abuse for the next generation. So just a couple of housekeeping things I wanted to mention. We are going to have Liz with us here throughout the session. So if you have any technical issues, please reach out to her directly in the chat. And if you have any other needs or questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly in the chat. So welcome everyone, and Kimber and Ashley, thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us. And I'll turn it over to you two.
Thank you guys. We are so honored to be here. We were telling Jen earlier, Roger's probably really going to regret the day he asked us to do this. So, okay. So listen, she's better at technology, but you guys might have to bear with us as we do this technology today. So we're gonna try this. We're gonna try to share our screen and see how it goes. I've practiced about 1,000 times, but you know it's not foolproof.
You're doing great, buddy. So
Thank
proud of
you.
you. Never been prouder. Did you share the sound?
Oh, uh-oh, what happened? See, I'm already failing. I'm already failing at this.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, you do this.
Okay.
We're gonna let her do this.
Okay, this is the little fellow we're sharing, right?
Yep.
Okay. Come on, little guy. You can do it.
Of course, it worked perfectly with Liz earlier.
I want you to go here. Okay, we're just gonna give it a minute to think about the
Can you
choices.
guys see our slideshow or no?
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. We're gonna give it one more shot, and then we're gonna defer.
Maybe X out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you guys are having issues, I can try to play it from my computer.
Yeah,
you want to give it one more whirl, and then if it's not going to work.
Yep, we're gonna give it one more opportunity to make good choices.
Third time's a charm.
Well, I wouldn't go quite that far because
I mean,
I forgot how.
It's St. Patrick's Day.
I literally forgot which way colors work, so things are already tricky. Okay. Come on, you can do this.
Did we do it? Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect. Okay. So today we're talking about intervention as prevention, and we'll get into that. So here's us when we're super cute, because we're not as cute anymore.
And that's my natural hair color. You are welcome.
So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, it's me first?
A little
Okay.
bit. I mean, Jen introduced us kind of making us sound super professional.
Oh,
We're
now the real intro?
This is the less professional
All right.
intro.
We hope you guys just get really comfortable with us because we're already comfortable with you. So please just know that that's what we would love. So I'm Kimber. I'm the executive director over here at Upper Valley CAC. I'm also a forensic interviewer. And let's see, fun fact. I don't do the fun facts about me yet, or do I? Oh, I do it now. Okay. So a few fun facts about me. During the pandemic, I got bored and thought it would be a great time to get my master's degree finished. So clearly I made great choices in 2020. I'm about 4 months away and I've told myself I'm never doing it again, but who knows? Because if there's another pandemic, I might just do it twice. So that's me. A few other fun facts about me is I am a runner. I really enjoy running. I'm not fast, but I can run far. And I run most often with my treadmill. His name is Thor Ragnarok, and I'm really into him. My husband is jealous. When I'm not running on Thor, I just got myself a new bike, and her name's Valkyrie because Marvel. So that's me. And I used to be a Mountain Dew drinker, but this one over here took me to the dark side. Now I drink Diet Coke. It's a whole thing. There's like a counseling process you go through when you leave Pepsi and go to Coke. It was really difficult. So that's me in a nutshell.
I'm Ashley Stallings. I'm the program director here at Upper Valley Child Advocacy Center. We're located in Rigby, Idaho, so southeast Idaho. I'm also, like Jen said, I'm a trained forensic interviewer. I have my bachelor's in psychology and my master's is in child advocacy and policy. I too would not do my master's again, but I'm glad I did it. A couple of fun facts about me is I live on Diet Coke. If I could have it put in my arm as an IV, I probably would. Just how I survive. Also, chocolate is the fastest way to my heart. So if you ever need to bribe me to do something, in fact, I'm gonna tell Roger he owes me some chocolate.
Wow, that's aggressive.
That's where we're
It's
at.
aggressive over here today.
And then also another fun fact is old dogs can't new learn tricks.
Can't new learn tricks.
No,
Also,
can't
you know there's a
learn
screen
new
share. They
tricks.
can't actually see you, buddy.
I think they can see us.
Okay, well, continue.
I actually broke my wrist about 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Snowboarding because I thought I could snowboard. And so I had to have surgery because I go big or go home.
Yeah, that's a true story.
That's a couple things about me. So now we talked about us. We want to know who you are. And really what we want to know is kind of where you work, what your profession is, why you're, that kind of thing, just to kind of give us an idea of our audience today. So here's the thing about us is we love to hear ourselves talk.
Oh, we are in love with our own voices.
So we will talk forever, but we really do want you guys to feel like you can unmute and participate because there is going to be some parts of this presentation that is going to require that.
Mhm.
So please don't be shy. Write in the chat. Liz is going to help us. She's going to shout out what you guys are saying so that we can make sure we're hearing. And any questions that you have, don't be afraid to pop them in the chat. Like, we're not one of those people that feel like we have to get through every single slide. So if there's a discussion that needs to be had, we'd rather do that.
Yes.
So
Yes, that is true.
So tell us who you are. Liz, is anybody writing in there? I can't see anything but our PowerPoint.
I can unscreen.
Yes. Yes, we've got elementary school counselor and social worker here. We've got Ashley and Sky from TVCRN. We've got a child care health consultant for Idaho Stars, Maria from Pocatello, Kristen Mackay, Idaho, MIECHV, home visiting Boise, Becky Carson Eisenman, community resilience builders in Boise, Miller PA is an elementary school social worker, and we've got more people joining from the waiting room. So I think we're going to have a really full session. Is everyone able to see the chat? If not, check the little bar on the bottom of your screen and click that chat button. And then it'll open up the chat window so you can see where everybody's from and you can post questions.
Yes.
Perfect.
And maybe, yeah, we'll give everybody a minute to do that. We really want to make sure we want to hear from you. We want interaction. It's a lot more fun, or you will get really sick of us. And I want to add one little housekeeping thing because Ashley took away my housekeeping slide, and it's my favorite slide. So I'm kind of low.
Well, because usually we say like you can go to the bathroom.
I'm still covering that.
You still
I'm
can go to
going
the
to cover
bathroom.
that. I thought of it
Okay.
this morning. I was like, you know what?
Okay, go ahead.
If I could impart wisdom on the people around me watching this session, if you need to go visit the little advocates room, you go ahead and do that. But I really want to give a pro tip. You make sure that your sound and your camera is off, because you can take us with you if you want, but we don't want to go on that trip with you. So that's kind of how that works there. But it is, if you want a snack, you get you a snack. We want you to be comfortable, but it is, listen, I was actually offended when I found out she took that slide from me. It's my favorite slide.
So just as we're getting started, obviously we run a child advocacy center. I think to understand our perspective of how intervention is prevention, I think it's important that you guys understand kind of what we do on a day-to-day. So we just have this little video that it's like a couple minutes long that kind of explains, just in case some of you might be familiar what a child advocacy center does, but some of you might not. So I'm just going to play that now. Hopefully you guys can hear it and see it. Let me know if you can.
A Children's Advocacy Center, or CAC, provides support to victims of child abuse. Without a CAC, an abused child may have to tell their story over and over again in settings that may be scary or where kids may think that they're in trouble. Then, families have to search around for the services their children need, all on their own. But in a CAC, a child tells their story to a trained interviewer who makes the process gentle on the child and finds the facts which are crucial to the child's case. Then, a community of professionals in medicine, law enforcement and child protective services, prosecution, victim advocacy, and other heroes work through the CAC to decide the best way to help the child. And CACs provide science-backed mental health care that heals kids from trauma and helps them reclaim their futures. This community of caring professionals rallies around the child so children have everything they need, all in one place at the CAC. To find your local CAC or to sign up for updates, visit nationalchildren'salliance.org.
So that's just like a very simple, brief overview of what we do. So basically at a Child Advocacy Center, we work with a ton of different partners. So obviously law enforcement, Department of Health and Welfare, Kimber and I are the forensic interviewers. We have family advocates. We have a medical team. We have a mental health team. We work with the prosecutor's office and the victim witness coordinator, adult probation, juvenile probation, adult advocates. Really with us, I think we really pride ourselves on thinking outside of the box and working with lots of different agencies. And I think that's really, when it comes to prevention, that's something that I think traditionally child advocacy centers weren't really a part of that conversation when we started this, which was like 5 years ago.
At least in our neck of the woods. We can't speak for everywhere else.
But I think for us, we always were under the impression that if we could prevent ourselves out of a job, we would love that. So that's kind of a little bit about child advocacy centers. Also, we are a 501c3, so we're a nonprofit. We are all grant and private donation funded. All of the direct victim services that we do, as well as our prevention programs that we provide, come at no cost. We do not charge for those. We do public awareness as well out in the community, and we just partner and we collaborate with lots of people in our community, because honestly, we feel like any way we can meet a family's need, that's our job. And so really anything that way we do here.
So, and well, just some of our community projects that we do right now that I think emphasize prevention a little bit more than intervention would be, we work within the schools. Well, we do.
She's jumping ahead.
Sorry. Do you have the wall? Do you have all the things?
Oh, she's already yelling at me. It's
Okay,
fine.
it's fine.
Listen, I did this, and so now she's gonna
be critical the whole time.
So let's define prevention. And we love this quote that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And we totally believe that here. I think that's why when we started thinking, like, why aren't we teaching prevention? Why aren't we out in the community talking about not just intervening after child abuse happens? Why aren't we out in the community trying to prevent it? Like, why are we not doing that? Because if we can stop a kid from coming into our center and having to tell a story to us, like, that would be amazing. Okay, this is where we're going to need you guys. You guys are going to have to.
Oh yes, we're going to play a game.
Be here. So this is where the technology might go awry.
And I would like to actually just take a moment. This is why I'm mad about the housekeeping one. I know everybody in this little audience here. I would like to apologize to all the introverts today. I know you thought this is amazing. We're doing a virtual conference. I don't have to talk. I don't have to be in front of people. I don't have to do group activities. I know, because I am one of you. And this is downright infuriating when you get here and go, I have to participate, rude. So I am sorry, extroverts, you're going to have to carry us, because we're still not ready to fully come out of our introvert shell. So
okay, but you can just write in the chat if that's where you feel most comfy cozy. Liz is going to help us. She's going to monitor the chat for us. So we actually, I adapted this. We teach Hope Conquers ACEs, which Idaho Children's Trust Fund trained us in. But we kind of adapted this from their
from the training they gave us.
Yes. So we're going to play a game. I know everyone get excited. Okay, so we're going to talk about prevention. Look, this is. And so when we think of prevention, we're going to see how fast we can fill these in. So I need people to, in the chat or unmute, think of words that start with these letters. And listen, some of these letters I get, X is kind of hard, so we can get a little creative if we need to. But we're going to, when we think of other words that go with prevention or anything like that, just start shouting them out, writing them in the chat. We're going to see how fast we can do this A to Z. And I'm going to try to type them. Oh, look, they're already doing it.
Oh, look,
this
went fast. Okay. Do you need help?
Oh, yeah. I can't. Okay. I have one hand.
She's doing this with one hand. Okay.
Oh,
empathy. I saw empathy.
Empathy, advocacy.
Oh, my goodness. Hold on. I'm on it.
You guys are killing it. No one wants to unmute, though.
Well, hold on.
There you go.
And then I have to tell it.
You just have to, nope. You can just keep typing.
Nope, it doesn't like that. You guys just keep going.
Go text. Stay there. Okay. See, this is where we knew it was going to go.
Okay, advocacy,
Mhm.
advocacy. Okay,
Counseling.
counseling and connections. I saw both and they're both good. Counseling, connections,
Resources.
Communication also, if you want another C.
I do. Communication, resources.
Resources.
I'm on it. Resources.
What else?
Hope, hope, love it. Okay.
About
Yeah.
parenting for a P.
Parenting. Okay, hold on. Parenting. Okay, there must be a lot of introverts in this crowd. Reflection. I'm on it. Oh, nope. You get back in the R's, Kimber. Okay, that didn't like that. So we're gonna not make that choice. Okay. Resilience, family. I'm gonna do family. You got kids and flexible. Kids. Okay. Inspire.
Kindness. How about
Kindness?
kindness?
Okay, hold on, let me. Oh, it doesn't, apparently it's a dangerous game to try and add this once you've already been on that letter, so.
Voice. That's
Voice.
a good one.
Okay, I'm on it. You guys are really good.
You guys are the smartest.
Quality
Yeah.
healthcare, ooh, I like that one. That was a clever way to do the Q. Oh, gosh,
Zealous.
zealous, ooh, where's my Z? There you are. Z-E-A-L-O-U-S. Okay.
See, just
Extreme, who did that?
yes.
Who-
I did the X.
Who
Yes.
freaking did that?
It was Maria. Good job,
You're
Maria.
a genius. Okay, that probably is spelled wrong, but actually I feel like we
I saw
already did them.
justice.
Justice? Okay.
Grace.
Grace. Ooh, I always love grace. You know how I feel about that word.
Oh, open. That's good.
Oh, and you know, this probably is a good thing to say too. Every so often, sometimes we say words. we
Oh,
shouldn't
no
say, so
judgment.
hopefully we don't. No okay, well, hold on. I'm right here
Okay.
first. Working together, no judgment.
Which
Come
is
on.
good because you guys aren't judging us, right?
Please don't judge us.
Oh, sustainability.
Okay.
Love that.
Wow, this is so fast. We're gonna have to go back up it to see what we missed. Okay, sustainability,
Diligent.
diligence.
We're just trying to see which ones we don't.
Hold
have.
on, hold on. I've made it angry again. Why did, oh, nope. Go back to mouse. Oh, this is, okay. Text. Okay, what was the word you just gave me?
Diligent.
Diligence.
Oh, back up. Love that.
Back up. Back up. Okay.
Oh, excellence. Love it.
That one's funny. What else have we got?
What else? We
Understanding.
testify.
Understanding and testify. I'm on
Yeah.
it. Understanding. Testify.
Liz, do we have any L's? Do you see in the chat?
Looking for L's. We have listen and love.
Yes,
Love,
thank you.
Listen. Beautiful.
Love, listen.
Also linking.
Oh,
Linking.
Linking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, how about
Listening. Oh my gosh, so many.
mindfulness? Mindfulness. And now why?
Do we have any why? Someone said yes project. I saw that.
Yes, project. What else we got? Any other why? Motivation, memorable. Yearning.
Yearning.
That's just a fun word. Okay,
Okay.
I did the
Thanks,
thing.
you guys.
now if I move to the next page, I feel like
No,
it's all
we're
gonna
not
stay.
moving to the next.
Oh, okay, not bad.
So what I want you guys to do now is I want you guys to go into, so you'll go into, I want you to annotate on this. This is cool. Just
Oh,
get ready for
what?
this.
What?
I know I practiced it with 84 agency. It was exciting.
Okay.
So you go up to where it says the screen sharing
Mhm.
and then view options.
Okay, this is for you guys. She's
Yeah, this
teaching
is for you guys. And then you go into annotate. And I want you guys to go get a stamp and I want you to stamp to like 1 or 2 words that like,
Hold on.
oh, Kimber's,
Okay, I see stamp. I'm gonna
yeah,
do
you
it.
can do them. And I want you to 1 or 2 words that really stand out to you that you like. Look, Kimber's doing it on hers.
Oh, now I understand why people can Zoom bomb. This is terrible to learn. Oh.
I just want to see what what really resonates with everybody.
Oh, because whatever you pick will be the best one, is what she's about to do. It's a competition now.
It's not a competition. I do like competition.
It's always
though.
a competition.
I am a titch competitive. It's fine.
Just a.
If anyone's having trouble finding the stamp or the annotate, shoot me a chat. I can walk you through it. Look at the top of your screen. Hopefully you'll see the view options.
It says Ashley and Timber's screen and then view Kimber's
There we
screen.
go.
It's early, you guys, and I haven't had caffeine yet, so it's a
That's
problem.
true.
View options and then annotating.
I just want to really be clear though, that we've taught you something and now you have some power, and with great power comes great responsibility as per Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And
It's all about Marvel with
it
it.
really is. You really need to make good choices. If you start annotating the next speaker, it's not on
Yes,
us.
it's not on us. Okay, let's see. So we've got quite a few hearts on empathy and hope. Oh, I love that. Oh, cute. What are your thoughts on that? Empathy and prevention.
I agree with it. I think you have to have a, because you're looking at people, especially when we're talking prevention is intervention, they've gone through some stuff, and you have to have empathy for the fact that odds, especially, I guess I'm thinking of it with a parent who's in this room with us saying, how did I fail my child? You have to have that empathy with them to understand that whatever happened, happened. We're here now, and now it's time to prevent what the future from repeating. And you have to have a lot of empathy, because sometimes it's difficult, especially when you think about compassion fatigue and things like that. And because sometimes, as much as you want to be your best advocate in every moment, sometimes in your worst moment, you might be like, why did that happen? And you can't do that, right? Bad things happen and we just can't go backwards. We have to have empathy.
I think the same thing with hope. A lot of people put their stamp on hope. I think, you know, we unfortunately, like we said, we would love to prevent ourselves out of a job, but intervention, I think it's always going to be a thing. So then in the middle of intervention, how do we stop these things from continuing? And it is giving that family, that child, that hope that even if something bad has happened, okay, well, what does it look like for the next generation? How do we stop that cycle?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, okay. And you just reminded me, you know, it's one of my favorite stories about a forensic interview. We were doing a forensic interview, and it was really, well, I was doing the interview. There was some pretty rough stuff in that interview. And sometimes when I'm talking to a kid, they draw. And so we were coloring, and I remember because the child was coloring a sun with a yellow crayon, and I had really pretty crayons. I want to be clear, they were pretty. And the crayon broke, and the child just looked at me and was like, and I was like, it's okay, here's another crayon, no big deal, you know, and handed another crayon. Child kept coloring, wasn't the end of the world, no big deal. But afterwards, this was a unique situation where afterwards there was some communication that occurred with the child, with law enforcement, and the team present. And I don't want to speak too much to it because there was a very specific circumstance around the case. But either way, the child brought up some things afterwards about a statement that was made is, I will never be normal, and I will never be able to live my life to my fullest. And I remember that was this moment where I just looked at that kid, and it was like Pinterest was channeling itself through me. Because I said the child's name, and I just said, you remember when you broke the crayon in the interview? The crayon still colored. It still colors. And it was like this light bulb moment. I actually still have the crayon, because that was one of those moments where it was like, sometimes they need that hope that it's okay. It's okay. We get to move forward, and there's always hope. So
Awesome. Thanks, you guys.
okay, I'm excited to see what happens when you change the
I know.
page. I'm
You
a little
guys,
scared.
This is going to be what's scary. Okay.
Are you trying to save it?
I already saved it.
Okay.
Just for our little hearts, I saved this little
Okay.
thing. So, okay, I'm going to try to clear this. Liz, this is where this always goes wrong for me.
Oh, I'm so scared right now.
Because pro
You
tip,
got this.
pro tip, if I don't clear it, then we get hearts on the next slide.
That's
Ooh.
right.
Okay. Oh, I'm here for this. You did it, buddy.
But this is where it doesn't won't let me share.
Close
my-
that, little fella.
my PowerPoint again.
You might have to stop sharing and reshare.
Yeah, you should be able to start a new share, and then you can move on to your next slide.
Okay. That do it.
Okay. So we're going to stop sharing, then we're going to here you
Hello, it's me.
do it.
Hello, we're gonna do this again. Yeah.
But listen, the stamps were worth it, right?
It was worth it.
That was a fun moment.
Every moment of pain was completely worth it. Come on, little guy.
Oh, there you go. Beautiful. Okay. So then we put a lot of words on the ABCs, right? And we talked about that, but this is the actual, Webster Dictionary of Prevention. And I found it really interesting when I looked it up. So the action of stopping something from happening or arising. And I think and I bolded arising because I think that's what we're talking about today. Sometimes we don't have the ability to stop bad things from happening. A lot of times we don't.
Even if that's our job, but
yeah.
that's our job is something bad has happened.
But once something bad has happened, can we stop it from arising? Can we stop the cycle? Can we give information to parents and these kids that can prevent things and make them more aware? Because like Kimber said, we don't know what we don't know, right? So for a lot of parents that come through our center, like this is not on their radar at all. Like this is something they haven't even thought of. So preventing it wasn't even anything that they'd ever thought they would have to do. So I just love that definition that prevention is also stopping something from arising. So these are just a couple of our prevention programs.
It wasn't here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this is the slide she was trying to get to earlier.
I knew that. I
her.
jumped the gun a lot.
So we teach Safer Smarter Kids. That's a child abuse prevention program we teach in schools actually. Of course, we teach Darkness to Light. Love that one. Hope Conquers ACEs that we talked about through the Idaho Children's Trust Fund. And then we also started a Botman Life Skills this year, which is more of a substance abuse prevention, suicide,
self-harm,
peer pressure. It's like more for middle school and high school, but it kind of flows into our mission because those are things we see when kids come in here, higher rates of substance abuse, higher rates of suicidal ideations, those types of things.
In fact, I think it's interesting. And this year, I would say we're seeing this more and more. Problematic behaviors are actually what is triggering the disclosure. This year we've seen that quite a bit. And I don't know if that's COVID or I don't exactly know what it is yet, but they get caught for something, they've done something, and then they start to disclose that abuse has occurred. And when you see it, it all makes sense. And so I think something to point out with Safer Smarter Kids too is it is a program for kids. However, I think the benefit that we forgot or didn't quite recognize at first is we're educating the teachers in the classroom, the administrators, the school counselors, the parents, and we are seeing, and we know this, studies have shown that those education programs can prompt a child to help a child to know how to disclose, but it also helps adults to recognize what they might not identify as a disclosure, which is important. So somebody's asking the question, whether the stats of child abuse has increased since COVID-19.
We can only really speak to ours.
We will only speak to ours, but
which is, it's been crazy.
Well, we are a baby CAC. We are in a rural frontier area. So with that in mind, we manage multiple counties, but with our population as small as it is here in Southeast Idaho, we average about 100 cases a year. Okay. So 100 cases a year. We are in the middle of March, right? So we're what? We're not that many days in, and by the end of this week, we will hit the halfway point that we normally hit in June.
Yeah, I think we'll be at 49 cases this year by end of this week.
End of this week, yeah. So that's concerning.
But we're just now seeing it. Like it's just now coming through really fast right now. So I don't know.
It's been fast and furious. Now it can also be attributed to the fact that it was kind of a long winter, and you do tend to see surges at that end of winter, spring. Another interesting fact for you to know is your second surge that we see is when kids get back from summer vacation. So September, we're typically on the dead run. So it'll be interesting. Anecdotally, I know I've spoken to a couple of our other smaller CACs in Idaho, and they are having the same experience we are having. So we don't quite know what that means yet, but it is.
And we're super grateful we get to do this today because we needed a break.
Yes, we did need a break. So it has increased. I am very worried about the numbers right now.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see towards the end of the year, what
that looks like. It
what
may
looks like.
stabilize. It
Yeah.
may stabilize. We don't know yet. But keep your forensic interviews and your CACs in your little hearts and prayers because we're all like, what's happening? So.
So when we talk about intervention as prevention, I love this quote. Who doesn't love Mr. Rogers and his cardigans
He's the OG.
and his shoes?
Yes.
When I was a boy, I would see scary things in the news. My mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. And I think from what you guys have said in the chat and you guys being a part of this conference today, obviously that's in your heart. That's what you guys are. You're helpers. And so then how do we help moving forward, doing prevention as we're doing intervention work? So this is just a small little video. It's out of a different CAC called Small Voices in the Midwest. I can't remember exactly where they're at, but this is just kind of showcasing what advocacy is. So when a kid does come in, this is what happens in our center. Similar.
Oh, really quick with what Roger said. Yes, I would actually like to point out, we are seeing more severe cases also. CARES is seeing more severe, but not necessarily more. And yeah, they've had deaths. We haven't had deaths that we know of. Well, actually, I know there was one that was just in another area close to us. But yeah, the abuse we're seeing is more severe than consistently more severe, I think is the way to phrase that.
And a lot more kid on kid, I would say.
Yeah,
and I think that definitely has to do with COVID because
that speaks to being quarantined.
Being quarantined, so for sure, it'll be super. I mean, interesting. I hate saying that, but just at the end of the year, seeing what type of abuse it was, what the case number was, how severe it was, and kind of gathering all that data and seeing, what we can contribute to COVID.
And figuring out what was happening before that, and it just came to the surface. Because I also think that 2020 gave us a lot of opportunity to better educate on abuse. So
Yes.
I'm just not certain if it's COVID or if it's better education. It'll be, but anyhow, let's move forward.
So this is kind of just giving you guys an idea of what advocacy looks like at our center.
If you can't hear, type it in the box, please.
The first thing that we did when we found out that something had happened to Penny was to call the police. And so when we went down to file a report, her father and I, they told us about the Child Advocacy Center and how basically they were going to be the ones who would lead us through the process and they would be able to help us as a family. And they immediately gave us one person, one point of contact as an advocate, which was really helpful because then you don't have to, talk to a whole bunch of people and explain something traumatic over and over again. It was just talking to that one person, which was great. And so she set up the appointment for us to first come in and led us through exactly what to expect when we came in, which was really helpful. And I think I probably called her back like 5 times before we actually came in because I thought of more questions that I needed answers to beforehand. Our first impression when we first walked in was that it felt really comfortable and homey. It was just like walking into somebody's really big living room. And it looks like a house outside, so it's not an intimidating building to come into. And once you come in, it feels so warm and nice. And the kids were immediately drawn to the books and the toys and stuffed animals and were immediately occupied while adults were trying to figure out what we were supposed to be doing. One of the things that I think Penny remembers is the medical exam.
The medical exam was really scary for me. The doctor explained things to me and made me feel a lot more comfortable.
I think I would tell another parent visiting the CAC for the first time to not feel bad about asking questions and to know that you're only going to add like 100 more by the time you leave, and to know that you can call all the time and ask more questions and that nobody ever gets tired of answering them, and that if they don't have the answers, they will find them for you. So you don't have to feel so alone in it because they're going to be there and they're going to help you get through it.
If I had a friend come here, I would tell them that it's actually kind of fun going here.
Do you think they need to be scared?
No.
We think that the CAC is a really important resource in our community. I think there's nothing else like it. And if it weren't for having it here when we needed it, I don't know how we would have been able to get through everything as successfully as we did. It helps us help other people, which is the one good thing that came out of what happened to Penny and to our family, was that we have better tools now and better resources to be able to help other people. I think if these walls could talk, they would say that while no one comes here for a good reason, everybody leaves here stronger, and that all of the kids and the families that come in here are here to become a stronger family.
Anybody see?
The first thing that we did
I know.
when we found out.
Okay, so did anybody see the quote on the wall at Small Voices? Did anybody catch that? It said, I'm gonna butcher it. So, but it's on the wall at their center. It said, "It's a safe place that children come to tell their stories and heal, so that they may rebuild their life, so future generations may not have to." That's why advocacy is also prevention. They come to the Child Advocacy Center, they get the intervention, but they get that healing and that safe place, so that hopefully their future generations don't have to rebuild.
And I think something important to know, and I don't have hard data on this, this is anecdotal from what we've seen here. So many times we have a child come in here, and as the forensic interviewer, part of our process is we do a pre-interview where we talk to the parent or the non-offending caregiver briefly before, and many times, and it's most frequently when it's the maternal caregiver, but they will say, "This happened to me. This happened to me. This was horrible. And now I'm here and it's happened to my child." And I think that's another thing we have to be very mindful of, is there's a cycle here that many times for that non-offending caregiver, they're reliving it too. So we are truly stopping a cycle that they weren't able to stop on their own. And I think that's important to recognize. We don't always know that, but I think whenever you are working with a family that's been in crisis, that's had this type of victimization occur, we have to realize there's a pretty good chance this isn't their first rodeo with this type of horrible experience.
Yeah.
So
no, and I agree with that. So this is funny. We're gonna try to put it to practice.
oh, here's a question that Christina's asking: are there resources for adults who haven't had help yet? Yes, there typically that would be an adult advocacy center. A lot of your domestic violence, sexual assault agencies also have services for adults who experience child sexual abuse or physical abuse. Whoa, that was tricky. Or neglect.
It's not even early anymore.
It's not even early. I don't even have a good excuse anymore.
But you haven't had caffeine either.
I'm drinking caffeine.
Oh, I haven't had
aggressively. But so there are those resources. We do have adults sometimes there is an agency in Pocatello. Yes, I'll come back to that. Let me, one at a time, I get excited. We will sometimes get adults who come to us, and up to the age of 21, we can still give some resources and help. I'm cross-trained in adult and child advocacy, but our focus here is child. So I will sometimes provide a resource to an adult who has been through this experience, but what we prefer is a nice, warm handoff to an adult agency, because they will have access to those specific resources that can better serve that family. Having said that, we are able here to set up those non-offending caregivers with counseling as secondary victims. And that can be another way that it kind of serves them and helps them get through. So that's what I would say most likely you all have a resource in your area. It's most likely going to be your sexual assault, domestic violence center. If they don't have experience helping adults in that area, we're more than happy to talk to them about it or connect them with adult agencies we know that do have experience. Or even if an adult center contacted us, we'd say, hey, here's some resources that we would do. And then the agency in Pocatello is Bright Tomorrows. They're a CAC just like us. They serve the same age bracket. CACs in the United States typically work with up to the age of 21 years, but we try and stay close to right at 18. And we do work with adults who have cognitive delays, or even on occasion, we have assisted with an adult who's been a victim of crime who's afraid to talk to law enforcement. They occasionally end up with us. We do try to refer that to another center, but we do have specialized training that sometimes benefits law enforcement. our master's degrees. So mine is going to be in public administration. Give me like 4 more months and I'll be done. Woo.
And mine is in child advocacy and policy. That's what mine's in.
And just so you know how that happened.
Someone
is,
asked that question.
Yes, that's why we're answering that.
We're just bragging.
Yeah, it's
fine.
okay. But I just want to point out the reason I ended up with public administration is because when we were building the CAC, we played a game called Nose Goes. If you've ever played, you do this.
We play that game every day to see who's in charge.
Yeah, that's how we decide who's running the place. But we were doing it about who was going to be in charge of the grants and the money, and I lost. So public administration for me.
Yep, she gets to do the numbers, which is a blessing because I can't math to save my life.
So continuing.
So yeah, so that is what that's what we look like at work these days when we're trying to stay positive.
Yeah, that is a picture of me.
So now we kind of want to put it into practice with you guys. Once again, if you want to write in the chat, if that's how you're most comfortable and interact, but please feel free to unmute and yell at us. We love that. Actually, we're here for that.
Yes.
So
really quick, Ontario in the United States, Ontario, or are we talking about the Canadas? Sky. You just type that in. If it's in the United States, hey, you get your MDT connected with us and we will get you have in Oregon.
Western Regional.
Yeah, Western Regional CAC. I would look for them. Patty Tirazin is the person over that. And in Oregon, you're going to have, just like we have the Idaho Network of Children's Advocacy Centers, you will have an Oregon chapter that's over your child advocacy centers. And I strongly recommend you connect with that chapter director and they can help you develop a CAC. And you can always catch us offline and we'll tell you more about it. Continuing.
Okay, so I made this just kind of looking at, and we have lots of different people on there. So in our work, obviously we do intervention, we have families coming in crisis, but obviously in your guys' work, you still are dealing with families that might have had something happen to them, right? And so then how do we prevent things moving forward? So what I did, and you guys should have this, it should be sent to you. So if you ever do want to print it off and kind of work through it yourself, then I think that would be awesome. But like for us, our example is, so we teach Safer, Smarter Kids. One of the things we teach in that is social media safety. So prevention techniques we teach while we're teaching the actual prevention curriculum is, turning in electronics at night, telling a parent right away if something inappropriate pops up, those types of things are the things that we're teaching as we're teaching prevention. So then how do we take those little tidbits that we teach in prevention and use them in an intervention setting? And so as we're sitting and doing advocacy with the parent, those things come up. These parents are like, oh my goodness, like I didn't know know that they had access, to like Fortnite. My kid's on Fortnite.
No, actually the one that people should know is Roblox.
Oh, Roblox.
Roblox, not Roadblocks, ROBLOX, but little kids get on that one.
Yeah.
Listen, Roblox is actually something as parents you should be concerned about. That is how little kids get victimized quite a bit. It concerns me.
Yeah.
So, and they won't realize that's how this person got access to their child because it's Roblox. You wouldn't expect that. But Fortnite's the same. Fortnite comes in quite a bit.
Well, any online gaming where an adult could potentially be chatting with them. I think even on Fortnite, you can send pictures. I'm pretty sure.
You can send pictures. They can buy things for kids.
They can buy things and gift them to a kid. So grooming can happen. So, but a lot of times parents aren't aware of this. And so as we're sitting doing advocacy with them, these are things we talk to them about. We say, hey, have a basket sitting out in the kitchen when the kids go to bed. Have your kiddos put their electronics in the basket. We also provide resources for social media usage. So we have like a page that kind of talks about the different apps and how to check them and what to
lock up on them,
or all those types of things. There's one really scary one, the calculator.
Oh, the secret calculator.
You guys know about the secret calculator? So it looks like a calculator app on a kid's phone, but it's actually a place they can like hide pictures. And so, it looks like they're just like adding like math, but that's like a code to get into the secret place where they hide pictures. So there's tons of trainings out there available for that.
What class? This is not a class we teach, but we do have a trainer who can teach this. She's with the Idaho AG's office. Her name is Tamara Pitts.
Yeah.
And she could teach that. So yes, connect with us offline. We'll put our email address in the end, and if you shoot us an email, we will connect you to all the people.
Yeah, and if
we'll send you stuff.
Get online, there's a lot of free trainings too out there for parents on social media stuff.
Mhm.
And then another thing that we would use in an intervention setting is just educating parents on, you know, when children typically see pornography and those types of things.
Are exposed to it.
I think 8 is about the age that they say. And so we do a lot of talking about that with parents, because moving forward, you know, these parents have other children in the home, other children they're around. And so it's just our opportunity to say, okay, now we can prevent, now we can kind of move forward. So anyways, you guys should have access to that. If you don't, let us know or let Liz know.
Are we going over or are we okay?
No, it's 10:15, right?
Yes, you guys have until 10:15.
Oh, okay, good. Because again, we told you we're in love with our own voices.
Look, and see, this is the very last slide.
Oh, okay, so we did good. So we'll have time for Q&A.
Look, listen, this is how this goes. She's like, Ashley, you're in charge. And then when I'm in charge, I'm not really in charge. I'm secretly not in charge.
That's my bad. Okay.
So any other questions?
Yeah, let's do some questions for a minute.
Or I would love to hear what you guys, I would love to hear from you guys some of how you think this would be applicable to what you do.
Or ask us how we think it's applicable, because we love telling people how to live their lives.
She loves telling people how to live their lives. I love you.
I love you too, buddy. Okay, go ahead, throw something in the box. Again, you're going to hear us talk. Now they get quiet. All right, while you're typing, because I know you're all thinking really hard and typing, let's go back one screen on this and look at this. So let's talk about what's another program that we do that might be a good one to talk about, or just a parent situation. I'm trying to think of one.
Well, I think, why don't you talk about the juvenile justice system a little
Oh, actually, yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. So here's another area where you might not realize that intervention work is also prevention. Some of the work we do is with the juvenile justice system. We've been working on a project with them for several years now. We sometimes conduct forensic interviews. Down the road from us, a couple counties over, is JCC in St. Anthony, and we have 5C. So those kids that have been in there, and I think this is a good area to kind of realize sometimes we forget those kids. So they're there because they've made some choices that mean that that's where they get to reside for a while. And I'm talking about not PREA, which, if you don't know PREA, that's your Prison Reform Elimination Act. Okay, so that's when a sexual assault happens when they are there. We're talking to prior to PREA. We will sometimes, in their program, they have to talk about any victimization that's occurred to them. So they will disclose some sort of abuse that happened previously. So that's when we come in and we conduct that forensic interview and gather that information. A few things to be aware of is a lot of times that happens, let's say the child lived in Boise when it occurred, but now they're here in our neck of the woods. So we connect with law enforcement, health and welfare, whoever there, to get that information to them. For us, we do teleforensic interviewing to help them access that interview at the same time if they want to. That was one of the gifts of COVID. But with that in mind, as those kids come through and disclose it, it gives you a whole new way to look at that child, because they might be there because they were doing drugs. And sometimes when you hear the victimization that occurred, because I just want to be clear, those kids, more often than not, it's polyvictimization. It's happened to them over and over and over again. The adults in their life have not protected them. And so they chose to survive however they could survive. And sometimes that means they're doing drugs. And you know what? When I hear these stories of what has happened to these kids, I just think to myself, I'm just so happy you survived. I'm just so happy you're still here on this planet, because what has happened to you is horrible, which we can't say to them in an interview, but that is something to realize when you're talking to these kids, when we're helping them heal there, and then they're going through their program at the juvenile justice system, we are doing prevention work, because we are helping these kids process what happened to them, understand that they are still a whole, complete human being who is deserving of love and deserves to be treated with respect. And in that moment, we are interviewing them. They are not, as a cop once said to me, a tiny criminal, which I was like, oh, they are a child who went through something nobody should go through. They are a victim, and they deserve the same opportunity to heal. So that's something I think to think of when you see your adults who are constantly in crisis or making these poor choices. There's a really good chance things happened that weren't prevented. So now we're here intervening and helping to prevent the next cycle. So that is something to just kind of think about. And we're always happy to talk about our work in the juvenile justice system because we believe there's more work to do there, that we're missing a population and we are not serving them and serving those children in the right way. Okay.
Well, if we're really talking about breaking the cycle for the next generation, I mean, where else would you, I mean, that's a place you've really got to start, you know, teaching those kids and the juvenile justice system. I mean, we worked with a lot of them throughout the state of Idaho. Like, they do an amazing job of giving these kids the best shot moving forward to break that cycle. It's just, what we're working on is that victimization that occurred before they got there. Let's make sure that's all healed and good, and they've got the resources when they get out of the juvenile justice system so that they can continue to move forward. So those resources look like counseling,
victims comp,
which
them.
is just money that is available to them to use for counseling, those types of things. Because if those things are not provided to them, then how are we even giving them a shot of not continuing this cycle? You know, so we can't save every kid, but we would like to think we could.
But we're those kids on the beach throwing the starfish. We're going to try and get them all. So here's one right here. Let's just go up a teensy bit. Okay. So working in early childhood intervention, and we focus on social and emotional classrooms. We work with high-risk families. I think your high-risk families, without having more articulation on that, my thought is when we see those families that are, well, I define high risk, and please correct me in the notes if I am incorrect here. But for us, high risk families is, you know, we might have parents who have struggled with drug abuse, or there might be domestic violence in the home. I'm going to focus on the domestic violence in the home part. We see that here where they get here to us because the child has been victimized. But as the family advocate is talking to the non-offending caregiver, it becomes apparent there is some domestic violence going on in the home. And that's something where, again, it's connecting to resources and knowing all your resources and having a relationship with that other person. If you have, like for us, let's say we have a strong relationship with an adult advocacy center close to us, we would be able to reach out to them and say, hey, I've got a friend over here. I'm going to get you connected. Let's do that warm handoff. And a warm handoff is we have found that's where we have a lot of success, is when we're able to say, hey, I've got a buddy over here, they're going to help you. And that less formal way of connecting people can really do a lot. We do a lot of warm handoff emails and text messages. So that's, I would say, a big one. I want to hear more about this conscious discipline tools. If you wouldn't mind typing that in, I'm interested in hearing about that.
But I like this as a home visitor. So Gwen is saying, as a home visitor, they use the ACEs questionnaire, and it helps understand the cycle of family dysfunction. And I love, love that. That's perfect.
Did you, yesterday's keynote, they talked about, I'm going to call it the wrong thing. I want to call it the benevolent. Well, I want to call it the bases. I know that's not what you're supposed to say, bases. But I like aces and bases. Do your aces cover your bases? That's like what happened in my head. Ace of base. Stop, you ruined it for me. I like the baseball analogy better. Anyhow, that's something where yesterday I learned that and went, oh, that's a beautiful piece, because it incorporates that hope back in and says, okay, yeah, a lot of things happen that aren't great, but look at this too. Let's move forward and break the cycle because you've got this here.
Well, I think that's a huge piece of when you're doing prevention as a part of intervention. It's really, and this is the thing you guys stamped with your heart the most, was that hope piece.
Yes.
It's giving this family, because a family comes in here thinking, this is it, our life is ruined.
They're so embarrassed and ashamed.
You as a home visitor, you give an ACEs questionnaire and their ACE score is like huge, and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's my destiny, right? Like I can't move forward. But in those moments, we can give them those, like we talked about, like the hope that we leave, the past is the past. Now we're going towards the future. And so what are we going to do moving forward? Because now that we know better, we do better.
Well, and here's another way to use your ACEs that you may not use, but we've done it. And it actually, I can think of one specific example. It was really impactful. So we made our MDT members do the ACEs.
We might explain what MDT is.
MDT is your multidisciplinary team. In Idaho, that is mandated that every county prosecutor is supposed to have this MDT meeting. There are certain people who are required to be there: law enforcement, health and welfare, prosecutor's office, child advocacy centers. And then it's good to have your medical, your mental health. things like that. So that's your team. You meet once a month or bi-weekly or however you want to do it to talk about these cases, to talk about how we're going to work together, help each other, to train. There's a lot of different ways that MDT works, but that is your team. At the CAC, we always have a team, and that's who you're going to see here. So with that in mind, we have taken the ACEs study to our MDTs before. Fun fact, law enforcement tends to score high on ACEs. And I think that's something that's interesting to know, because as you're working intervention and prevention, you have to realize that part of that is educating your team. Law enforcement don't always, there was one law enforcement officer in particular, when he saw his ACEs score, you could tell he was a little bit, it wasn't a great moment. And to have that conversation with him later offline, where he was, he was like, I'm pretty broken. And it was like, are you? Or did you take your life experiences and now you're a helper and now you protect people? And to help him reframe the fact that, yeah, a lot of things happen that aren't great. Maybe that's how you got here. But guess what? You became a helper. And that's how you are stopping the next cycle. So something for you to think about as you work with your team is it might be important to show them that and to remind them, but you're not broken. And even if you are a little broken, you're still that broken crayon and you can color.
And that's the same concept, I think, just across the board with parents and children we interact with. I mean, it's really empowering people to just flip the script, look at it a different way. Like, yes, bad things happened. We can't change that. We wish we could.
Yes.
Like we said, we wish we could have been in front of you and prevented this. But now moving forward, what are we going to do to make this better? Like, how are we going to, make this a positive? And this doesn't define you. This isn't your destiny. Just because your ACE score is high, that is not your destiny.
No. In fact, it's something you get to decide if it's going to hold you back, or if you're going to tip that little guy over and use it as a ladder to climb on up and get to the next place. And that's what intervention and prevention work together is.
Well, like with this law enforcement officer, what an amazing thing that he took some really heavy childhood trauma and now has turned it into something where he is preventing things from happening to other people.
Yes.
Where he is helping other people. I mean, that's an amazing testament to resiliency, right? Mm-hmm. Which I know you guys mentioned on the ABC game.
And he's he's just an amazing detective. We are just so proud of it. I know, I'm going back up. Conscious discipline. Okay, and y'all, if you aren't looking in these notes and copying and pasting the crap out of it, I don't know what you're doing right now, because there are some really good resources in here that I know I would like to be taking forward and learning more about. Conscious discipline, a research-based program that helps parents stay calm enough to see misbehavior and upset as a signal to teach instead of punish. That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful.
That same concept of looking at behaviors as just behaviors and what are as a symptom of what's going on.
Which is going to take me to my favorite story I like to tell when we do Hope Conquers ACEs about the signs.
Okay, we'll do signs and then I've got one more video.
Okay, fair enough. And then we'll be done. So here's something that I like to frame this, and we do this when we're training the people at Help. When you see those things as signal, when kids are acting out, when people are struggling, when you see these issues, this is something I read years ago on the internet, so you can go look it up. It's from the Brave Girls Club. So if you Google Brave Girls Club and it's titled "We Must Look Past What We See," I think is around the title. So yes, please share the PDF, share all the things.
Yep.
Anyhow, this story. So this gal, and actually she's from the Boise area, if I remember. So she and her husband lived a happy, beautiful, charmed life. They had a thriving business. They were doing wonderful. They had a life that was very comfortable, where they had, the cars and the tractors and the beautiful home and the boat, which is where things took a hop. Her husband was injured, and this was probably 10, 15 years ago. He was injured in some type of accident. I think it was a boating accident, but he suffered a traumatic brain injury. So if you think about 10, 15 years ago, we didn't understand traumatic brain injuries at that time. So I don't even know if that was really a word that people we just didn't know. So what she saw was somebody who looked okay on the outside, but wasn't okay. And there were times he might be a little suicidal. He was a different person. He couldn't function. He couldn't run the business anymore. But then sometimes he would come out of that fog and he'd be there again, and her husband would be back, but it was a little sporadic. So with that in mind, she started trying to take over the business so they could survive. And as it turns out, she wasn't a great business person, which she knew, but she was just trying to keep it going. So things were getting progressively worse. When he would kind of come out of that fog, he would help for as long as he could, but then he'd kind of slip back in and she'd be on her own. Well, it had reached the point where they were going to lose everything. And she did not know what to do. And at this point, her husband surfaces again, and she just says, hey, I don't know how long I have you, so I need to let you know what's going on. And she's just telling him, here is the horrible reality of our situation. So he's like, okay, let's solve this. So he gets on the phone. He at this point is understanding that he isn't always there with her to help her. So he's making some phone calls to try and figure this out. And they end up hauling everything, their trucks, tractors, boats, everything they could out to the front lawn. They get one of those big marquee signs that just says for sale and lists everything for sale. He's calling everybody he can think of to help, create some cash flow so they can dig themselves out of this mess. And while this is going on, the phone rings again, and it's a neighbor. So she hands the phone to her husband, and she can hear the neighbor screaming at her husband. And he's just like, who do you think you are? You are bringing down my property value. This is horrible. Your place is trashed, which she says, our beautiful lawn, I haven't kept up on it. So it's overgrown. Everything's parked on this overgrown place. It looks bad. It looks trashy to her. And he says, this guy's just chewing her husband out, and he lets him do it. He just lets him yell at him. And when he's done, her husband just really calmly says, sir, there was a time in this country that when you saw your neighbor take everything they owned and put it out for sale, your first thought was, what's going on? And then he tells the neighbor, here's what's happening. And then it's quiet. And the neighbor says, I have some friends who might want to buy some stuff. Let me make some calls. And she says, what I wished in that moment, what broke my heart, how embarrassing and horrifying this all was, is I wished people could read that sign. Because when you think of it, we're all wearing an invisible sign that nobody can see. And she said, my sign said I'm drowning, and I don't know if my husband's ever going to come back to me. And her husband's sign says I have an injury that nobody understands. And when you think of these people you're working with, walk softly with them. They're wearing a sign. You're wearing a sign today. I'm wearing a sign. Ash is wearing a sign. We don't all know what each other's sign says. We might get a glimpse every so often. When you see someone acting out, when you see someone making choices that you don't understand, they have a sign on that you cannot read. And one of the greatest gifts I think that I've been given is in this job, I've learned to recognize that every single one of us has a sign that I've got to be respectful of. And when they come at me a little harder than I would like, it's because I can't read their sign. So when you're working with these families, when you're doing your intervention work and you're trying to bring prevention work in, just realize you might not fully know what you're preventing, but you are preventing something. You are doing something. And do what you can to read that sign. Or at least if you have an idea of what it is, do what you can to be gentle with these people they're hurting. You don't know why they're hurting, but they are.
And I think especially when you're working with children too. I mean,
yes,
parents, obviously that, but also when you're working with children and especially these children that are struggling and having these behaviors, like we don't know what's going on behind closed doors in their home. We don't know what's going on, in their little brains. They might be trying to process something that has happened to them that they can't process because they don't have.
They may not have the language.
They don't have the language. They don't have the verbiage. I think that's another thing about, for us teaching prevention and, helping children understand that they have a voice as well, is that sometimes they don't understand what is happening to them because they don't have that ability. So I think it's just a great reminder, just in general, as human beings, that we treat each other as human beings, that we're human. I always like to say we're humankind.
Yes.
So not the word together, but we need to be human kind because we're all human.
Since the 90s has changed, has thrown that around and said, hey, actually, you don't actually have to tell the story.
Yep. Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for unmuting. That was
we loved it.
Okay, so just to close, obviously all of us here are helpers. That's why we're here. We want to prevent child abuse. We want to prevent things from happening to children, and we want to help those around us. That's obviously why we're here. Go to 17.
No, I'm on it.
17, 15.
Okay.
This is Lauren Book. She is a survivor
Able to
of
think.
some pretty horrific child abuse. She was actually abused by her nanny. So she's kind of a, you know, one of those situations. Yeah.
I'm gonna pause it.
One of those situations where it was very shocking. She comes from a very affluent family. So she had a nanny. That's who abused her. And she, if you guys ever want to Google her, her story is amazing. She's actually the creator of Safer, Smarter Kids, the prevention program we teach. But I love this because I think at the end of the day, when we're working with these families, whether it's intervention, prevention, whatever that looks like for you and your agency, or just interacting with people in general, what is your why? What is the reason you do what you do? Why are you at this conference today? What do you want to take from it? How do you want to be inspired, and how do you want to move forward with whatever you were doing in your life? So I just want to, we're going to end with Lauren Book. It'll just be a few minutes, and then if we have any questions at the end, because she says it way more beautiful than I would ever be able to say it.
Me again. Why do I do what I do? Because I want to be a part of worldwide systemic change in which we can and do teach our children how to be safe. Because if it means saving one child like me, letting them know that it's okay to tell and that it's okay to heal, then it's worth it. That's my why. This advocate will fight until she has no breath left in her body to make things different for kids like me and millions living across the globe. Because I know each and every one of us in this room and beyond would agree it shouldn't hurt to be a child, and all too often it does. Maya Angelou, who is also a survivor, said, "We delight in the beauty of a butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty." Some of the most incredible and impactful people I know have also survived some sort of trauma and lived to tell about it. For many, it's this place of unthinkable pain that's become the X, that's driven them to create some sort of pivotal and incredibly meaningful change. They've had to dig deep, asking, seeking, questioning, and discovering the why to be as effective as possible and true agents of positive, sustainable change. So before I leave you, I have some final thoughts on finding your X and why, lessons for current and future world changers in this room and beyond. Face your dark. Don't run from dark places. Don't be afraid to dig into the painful and uncomfortable things you've experienced and to ask why. That just could be where you find your power, your X. Remember, your story is unlike anyone else's. Embrace it. Let it empower you. Be authentic, even with vulnerabilities. Not everyone will get you. Not everyone will like you. Accept that. It does not matter. Use your power to change the world in ways that are meaningful to you. Decide what is unacceptable in your world or your life that you can change, and change that because you can. Find your X, recruit a team to make your vision a reality. Get other people excited and ask why with you. If you would have asked that 11-year-old little girl in oversized overalls and fear in her heart if she'd be standing in front of you, a crowd of academics and professionals, of learners, leaders, and doers, and probably more survivors than any of us would care to realize, I'm not sure that she'd believe it to be possible. But she had no idea her abuse would become her X, her driving force, or that it would transform into something new, advocacy, rooted in the continued need to find the why. So what's my Z? Stay tuned. We've covered A, F, I, V, P, T, S, D, and X. So for now, let's all stick to digging a little deeper and challenging ourselves to ask why.
So like I said, she says it more beautifully than I can ever say it, but I want to say since it's the end of our presentation, there's our contact info. We'll stick around here for a minute if you guys have any more questions, but I want to say thank you guys for what you do. It's a privilege and an honor to be around so many helpers that are a part of this work, and find your why, use your power, and go change the world. So
yep. And if you ever have questions or thoughts, or you just want to be like, hey, y'all are nuts. First of all, we know, we're aware.
Get it. We know.
We know. But seriously, reach out to us. Like we said, we kind of have a bit of a flood of cases going on, but we will reply.
Yes.
And we want all of you to succeed.
Yes.
So,
because if you succeed, we succeed, and then future generations succeed. So thank you so much for your time. If anybody has questions, concerns, needs counseling.
If you would like to lodge a complaint, it is Roger Sherman. He is where you lodge your complaints.
Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day and last day of your conference.
Ashley and Kimber, thank you so much for all the impactful information you shared and for all of the many important things that you highlighted for us to be mindful of to utilize in our work. And Liz, thank you for all the technical support you provided. Thank you, everyone, and please remember to complete your evaluations.